Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Thursday again, and we continue with our competition talk. And it's a great pleasure to have Christelle Guibert with us. Christelle, how are you? Good to have you here.
Hi, Arthur. Nice to see you. I'm good. Yeah, it's great to see you because we've missed you in July at our spirits judging.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It was a hard time for me seeing all the colleagues judging spirits in England being locked here.
I know. It was very sad, and everybody, there was obviously everybody was excited to be finally back in one room or testing and seeing each other. But there was also a bit of sadness not to see all the international colleagues and friends. So it was an interesting year. Yeah.
I still have this badge to feel like part of the family.
Dorian, you were maybe not there in person, but you were still there in spirit.
Absolutely. Christelle, may I ask you first of all to introduce yourself to our guests?
Yes, so I'm Christelle Guibert. I'm the CEO of Fine Wine and Spirit for the Convention Group. So the Convention Group, it's a company who owns several businesses in the wine and spirit space, and I oversee all the different companies. So it includes the IWSC. We have also a consumer brand called Club Onologique that we launched about 2 years now. And also we've got Whiskey Lounge, which is also part of our portfolio. And we also have the IWSC in Hong Kong. So I oversee basically all the wine and spirit portfolio. And and I joined 2 years ago to kind of first to oversee the IWSC, but also launch the Club Onologique magazine brands. But my background is very much wine. I grew up in a wine region in France, in the Loire Valley, and I study wine in France. And I even own a little vineyard in France that I make. Wow. I make 2,000 bottles in partnership with a producer called Vincent Caillé in Muscadet. So my background is very much wine, and for me it's such an interesting time at IWSC, learning about spirits and discovering the spirit industry and meeting all the people, and I find it fascinating, and I'm learning a lot, which is brilliant.
So you already told us you come from the wine side. You have your own wines back in France. How did you get into tasting professionally?
I think it's I study. My dad was really interested in wine, so from a very young age, I used to go and with my dad to visit producers, and when France is part of our culture, so we had wine every day at the table, and I was just fascinated by the people actually I was meeting, and I decided to started to learn more about wine, and started with some tourists, and then move on to actually learning about the winemaking side of it. I was just fascinated about the actual more the making the wine and learning about it. And I used to love traveling. I still love traveling, but so I always thought wine was a great place. So because it takes you all over the world. And then I realized that to really succeed, I had to learn English. So the first thing I did is actually, I never actually worked in France. I straight away moved to London to the idea to stay 6 months just to learn English. And I think 24 years later, I'm still here.
That's very, very interesting. We have two nice colleagues of us, Henrik Hemmer. He's also a judge of the competition, and Tobias Gorn. Hello, both of you. Hi. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Toby.
So from the wine side into London, that's where we got stuck, and then you.
And then I
stayed in London.
Yes, did several jobs in London, always in the wine industry. I worked at Harrods in a wine department. I first joined in a very gentleman club called the Boodles Club, which was actually my first job in London, a very traditional club. But it was a brilliant place to start and to study English. And but then when I arrived in London, I discovered that there was more to just French wine, because when you're in France, you just learn about French wine, or when you are studying Burgundy, you just learn about Burgundy. And so actually it was really interesting to learn about the rest of the world, basically. So I decided to stay another year, and I got some great opportunity regarding work, and then I joined Decanter, which was obviously a big part of my career, because I spent 17 years at Decanter, and I also worked for Waitrose working with the wine buying team as well. But yeah, Decanter was my 17 years. So.
That's almost like it's your baby. Francis Hoder joined us, La Grande Dame, IWSC. Hello,
it's
Francis.
Nice familiar name.
Yeah. So, how did they chase you, or how did they have a chance for you leaving Decanter, coming to IWSC after 17 years?
I guess, after 17 years at Decanter, I kind of did everything. I could do the job, my eyes closed. And so I felt a bit, I felt, well, maybe it's the opportunity for me to look at doing something different. And actually my wine project was getting me quite busy. So I say maybe it's a time to develop the wine business. But then the convention group contacted me. So we started having a conversation, and it took a while. We had several conversations about their ambition, what they wanted to do within the group and the IWSC, and obviously launching the club, or, the media, the magazine and the media brand. So I should say, actually, it's probably the right time for me to start something different. So something else, and actually use my skills that I've learned at Decanter, and actually see what I can do with the IWSC, because obviously it's such an institution, it's such a historical brand, and so it was quite exciting. So so I decided to take it on.
Such an institution. I mean, if you look at myself, you see the gray hair. I fit perfectly. You seem to be far too young to join such an institution. If you would get approached and someone asks you, what is the IWSC? What would be the short answer on that?
Well, it's an institution. It's for me, it's such a, it's a 50 years old, company, more than 50, actually 51. And it has been the benchmark of all the wine competitions, without a doubt. The IWSC was the first competition, wine spirit, and it's just, other competitions have used it, and other companies have used it as a benchmark to then develop, but they were the first one. They had this very, very rigorous judging process, which is remained, and it has built as reputation as being a very, I think, the historical, and working with some of the best experts, some of the best judges as well.
Mm-hmm. Is it hard? I mean, you're in your job now for about 1.5 years, almost.
Yeah, 2 years actually now. 2
2
years.
years. Is it hard to run a wine and spirit competition under one name?
It is hard, actually. And when I joined, I actually just joined as just the wine side of it. My first year at IWSC was only to look after the wine side of the IWSC, because, as I say, my expertise is wine, and I could do a lot with the wine side of the competition. And to be fair, the wine side of the competition needed more help than the spirit side. The spirit, I think, is such a strong brand, has such a loyal, followers, but the wine competition are very competitive. They're almost, getting a bit saturated as well. So the wine needed a bit of a refresh, and needed a bit of a change. So that's where my first year was very much focusing on wine. But it was interesting to see how the spirits worked, because obviously it was very new to me. So it was very much wine. But then in July last year, that's when I took on also the spirits element, and I did find it very difficult to look wine and spirit, because when I joined the IWSC, wine and spirit were always as one. So all the marketing campaign was very much wine and spirit together.
Mm-hmm.
All the processes were done together, and as a result, we were using in all our marketing materials, we're using words like products, because you were describing wine and spirit. But obviously, the word products doesn't really work for wine. But so there was a lot of things we were compromising on wine and spirit, because we always have to meet in the middle. So my first thing I did is actually split the two into the wine and the spirit. So we've updated our website where we have a section for wine and a section for spirits. The same with our judges. We now have a section for spirits, section for wine, and all our marketing materials now is very much split between wine and spirit, because at the end of the day, they are very two different. They don't have a lot in common, but I think what is the strength of the IWSC is to be able to bring together the wine and spirit industry. And actually, not many people can do that. So it's a big strength of the IWSC, whether they are very different, and we're talking also to a different audience, but actually within the trade, being able to bring the two together, because I think the wine industry can definitely learn from the spirit industry, especially in terms of marketing, packaging. I mean, the spirit industry is so innovative compared to the wine industry. And I think
do you believe
amazing panel discussion or roundtable discussion could be done around the wine and the spirit. And actually, we can do that because we have access to both. So this is really exciting, and I think this is something we're definitely going to develop, hopefully in 2021 when we are allowed to meet, in person. We'll definitely do, I think, more discussion around the wine and spirit to really, the two trades working together.
Okay. I mean, I discovered that on a lot of competitions, whenever wine people and spirits people are together, you can clearly see there is a difference.
Yeah.
From their mind, from their attitude. Beside the differences, are there any similarities? You said there are huge differences and you named some. Are there any similarities?
Well, I think I don't know, actually. I mean, I'm learning about the spirit industry. So I think the two industry could learn, I think what I've learned is the judging process is different. The way you test spirit is different to wine. But what I find fascinating is now the wine industry is really is more interested in the spirit industry, and they want to know more about how the spirits, how it's judged. And so I think the wine industry is probably now really looking at the spirit industry a different way, because I think spirit industry is so innovative and definitely in terms of marketing way ahead of the wine industry. So I think now the wine is definitely looking at the spirit, and I've been asked actually by a few people whether we could actually do more interaction between the two, where actually both could meet. So there's definitely now an interest of those two industries working closer together. And so I think there's a great potential. And now, we've learned as well from one of our sisters company, Fine and Rare Wines, who deal with wine and spirit. There's actually a crossover in consumers as well. There's actually consumers who now drink fine wine, but actually collect whiskeys. And so there's actually also crossovers on consumers. So there's a lot of opportunity, to really work closer together as one.
Okay. The next question might sound harsh to you, but we do this to present different competitions to consumers and producers. What is the difference between IWSC and other spirits competitions?
Well, you might be the best.
You came up with heritage. You came up with heritage, but is there a difference between IWSC and the rest?
Obviously, the IWSC for much longer than I do, so you probably are the best person to answer that question. But in my eyes, I think the heritage is what has position. The IWSC has been such a strong brand, a very loyal brand. Has worked with some of the best judges, best people behind the scene. The team before, Francis has been watching, has done such an amazing job at really developing the IWSC, and that authority and that's loyalty, and that's so we're just continuing what the work has been done in the spirit. And I think it's just we have this heritage we have the expertise. We're working with some of the best experts, and for me, competition is all about innovation, and a competition should never rest on this laurel. It should really always follow the trends. And all I'm doing now is looking at learning what's happening, making sure the IWSC is still relevant to our consumers, but also to our customers, but with keeping that heritage and continuing that legacy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, quite obviously, bringing in new ideas is never easy, and quite a lot of the people that are in for many years possibly think, what the hell is going to change? Everything was fine. When we look at the judging process, I mean, you mentioned, by the way, other competitions as well. Say we have international judges and so on. But I've had the honor to be part of the team since 2004, and I think it's a really unique setup. What we didn't add is the dedicated cellars where everything is prepared for the tasting and so on. What about the tasting process in general and the scoring system? I mean, obviously it's a 100-point score scheme.
But it's always been 100 points. I mean, you've always used to use the entree, but I think the way we introduced points, and we updated we updated our scoring system because we first updated for wine. There's no doubt we needed to do it because we were very the IWSC was not in line with the industry standards, so we had to update it. And again, when I joined, it was very much when you do a change for wine, you also make it for spirits. So the decision was also made to update it for spirits, but actually, what I really want to do with the judging process is to tell all the judges, and we have been doing this, and it is working, is to actually, it's not so much about the score, it's about when you test a wine, it's about the description of each medal, which is more important than anything else, what it is to be a gold or a silver or a bronze or a gold outstanding. So it's actually the descriptive, which is the most important part of the judging. And then when you have your descriptive, this is when then you know where it falls into a silver or gold, and then you decide on your score. But actually, when we updated the scoring system, which obviously we've definitely, the silver 90 point was much higher than previous years. But we actually, when we changed it in 2019, we ended up with more gold than the previous year. So it obviously did not at all affect our result. I think the judges saw a different way. They just look at it as a descriptive. We work a long time, we spend a long time, and you are obviously involved, Arthur, in this, in the descriptive of each medal to make sure it's the right thing. And we're really pushing, that description. This is the number one thing we want judges to read, to see, to decide on before they award the score. The score should come later.
I know, and I've been part of that process, and I know you're pushing hard that there need to be a good description, and I know there are people working in the background writing those notes and do a hell of a lot of work, which no other competition, by the way, does. So true. I mean, this is a really good. My number one priority was to provide feedback to all our entrants, not just the actual winning one, the wines or spirit. Everyone. I wanted to give feedback to everyone because it's actually someone who doesn't win a medal. Probably the feedback are more important than someone who gets a silver or gold. So this is something when I started, I just changed straight away. Every single wine and spirit will have a testing note. Anybody who doesn't win a medal will receive feedback from the judges. Francis just says, I think judges know when something is gold, and to some extent the score is irrelevant.
Exactly. I totally agree with Francis. Totally.
I know at least one person that's not going to agree.
No, but
we are getting back to Henrik. Could you explain a little about why the award system was changed at IWSC? I mean, I had a similar question sent to you. I said, why did you change the scoring system? It's not that you changed the scoring system, it's that you changed the scores for the medals.
Yeah.
And that's something quite unique you've done since centuries, because it's always been 90 plus is a gold, and 82, 89 is a silver. And in between, we had the outstanding from 86 onwards.
Yeah.
And then we had bronze from 75 to 79.
So the yeah. No, so the change.
Let me say one more sentence. Sorry, Henrik called me and say, "What the hell have you done with the medals?" And I said, "I haven't done anything this year." And he brought in a valid point. He said, "If I have a 92, I would expect it to be a gold at any other competition in the world. Why the hell should I enter at IWSC if it's only a silver?"
Well, since we've changed the scoring system, we get more gold than previous years. So it just shows that actually the score is not so relevant. It's purely, I'm going back to the descriptive is more important. There was a big risk when we changed it that suddenly to see a drop in the gold winners, but actually we did not see a drop. We saw actually an increase of medal, which actually show that, the judges think of the descriptive first and decide whether actually it's a gold, and the score becomes secondary. Is the score, I agree with Francis' comment, the score is not the most important part.
Why sorry, Francis? No need to be sorry.
It's when we had to change it for wine, there was no question about this. We had to change it. And again, my first year of the IWSC, I was obviously looking after the wine but not the spirit, and the decision was made to also adapt the score for the spirit, because historically everything they've done, everything's changed. It had to be the same. Spirit and wine had to be the same, so a decision was made to also change it to spirit. And actually, when we talked to our judging committee, they felt it was maybe the time to change it as well. They felt it was more relevant to the market. It's more relevant to the export market, especially when you start looking at countries like China. And so, it was also welcomed by all our community. And what also we've done is, as you know, Arthur, when I joined, we had one judging committee, actually it was called the technical and judging committee, I think, across wine and spirit. So we also changed it to a spirit judging committee and a wine judging committee. So therefore we had a team really dedicated, because, we had many people wine didn't know anything about spirit and vice versa. So we now have a core team of judges who are there to advise us, to make sure we are independent and we remain rigorous in our process. And when we presented it, when we discussed it, the committee also felt actually, it's probably the time to change it. And I honestly think it doesn't feel, as the results showed last year, we have seen more gold than previous years. So actually, it just shows that the points, it's not the number, it's not the main criteria. Actually, it's the descriptive and the testing notes which are the most important parts.
Henrik says almost all the spirit gold medals was at 95, the new bar for gold and spirits. Did you have a lot of aftermath when discussing the scores? I'm not sure if anybody knows, because you only get the final score. Only having 95 seems. I can remember when I set my induction with Richard, and we sat on the panel and we tasted, and a dear colleague of mine next to me scored a product 100 points. And then he looked at us, he stared at us and said, "Goodness me, you never ever give 100 points." That's something I remember. So this is not new to me. All the gold was at 95.
Yeah, but I think it's about the discussion. I mean, I'm a great believer in discussion, and I don't believe that judging is a numbers game. And I'm totally against any judging or which is just a purely numbers game where people score and do an average and that's your medal. Because for me, it's all about discussion. So there's a lot of, when there's a, as there's a lot of discussion when you all test individually, and then when you, go through your score, there's a huge amount of discussion happens there. And that's when team, a score as a team is then decided, or a medal and then a score, but it's all about the discussion. So I think the numbers is, is not the most important part. And as I said, the testing notes, obviously winning a gold is such a prestigious, and we've raised the bar, getting a 95 for a gold. But it just shows that when you win a gold, it is pretty special, and it's a fantastic achievement.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're really satisfied with the outcome.
Yeah, I am actually. I'm very pleased with how things are developing. I feel the spirit. It's already really good. It's working really well. It's a great team of people working. Toby did an amazing job with us this year and supporting us, with all our spirits producers and we're I think we're lucky at the IWSC to have that support from the judges. We have a lot of loyal judges. We have one judge who came from Taiwan to just for the even had to do this 2 weeks quarantine. So I think we're very, very lucky. So I'm very pleased, and I talk a lot to our judges to get their opinions and how we can move it forward. Because as I said earlier, we can't rest on our laurel. We always have to make sure we continue to be there, to be actually relevant for the market and for our customers.
Mm-hmm. I can remember quite well when we sat together. Sorry, I can remember quite well when we sat together and discussed should the medals carry the points on it, and I think the idea was quite clearly in mind towards the US, because the US is very hooked on numbers.
So can I just? This is quite an interesting story, because for wine we had to put the point. We know, because for US, obviously, a medal for them, a point is more important, and people now work with point, and then what we did is the original plan was not to use the point for the spirit, to actually only use a point for the wine. But when we announced our results, there's been a glitch in the system, and suddenly the medal as well as the points were available. And as a purely surprise, we suddenly realized actually most of our spirit producers were using the points rather than the medal. And we saw a huge increase of producers using points rather than medal last year. And this year we see even bigger. So we decided to leave it because it's there for people to choose what they want to use. But initially we were not planning on releasing the points. We were just,
really?
But it was
for the spirit side.
And actually, it's been a real success, because we are seeing now, especially this year more than ever, people using points to promote their spirits.
Okay. Is it all over the place, or is it really just more America focused with the points?
No, all over the place. So it's just interesting. Oh no, all over the place. So yeah, I feel like we've set a new trend.
Well, sure. Each critic only issues points and not medals commonly, so people are very hooked on points.
Yeah, it's funny, because when we commission for Clubo, for example, our magazine, when we commission spirit writers, a lot of the spirits don't want to score. We often, when we do reports, they don't give us scores. They don't want to score the spirits. So it's very interesting. It's obviously very different to wine.
Mm-hmm. Henrik comes up again with a question. You see, he seems to be he's been a little bit nicky. He said, in my 12 years of judging spirits, I've only seen a handful of 95 plus point spirits, and now there are super many. Isn't that odd? I mean, to finish this, what I understood is you amended the points for the medals. And with that, also the judges amended their pointing to the medal.
Yeah,
and I think that was quite quick.
Yeah, because we actually spend a lot of time, as you know, we spend a huge amount of time in the wording. And really, when last year we started really explaining the new wording, we've sent it to all the judges in advance. And we wanted people to think about the descriptive of each medal rather than to think about what was a silver before, the descriptive, what is now. We wanted people to think about the descriptive and then to think about, okay, that falls into the gold or the silver bracket. So actually, it did, as I say, it didn't affect at all our results. Why there's more gold now than, historically, I can't really answer that question because I haven't been really analyzing our spirit entries for long enough. I've only checked. I was interested to see the difference between 18 and 19 when we updated our scores. Why there's more gold? I can answer it for wine, where there's more wine awarded medals, purely because I think wines are better made so that they were, 10 years ago, or better quality. And, so I think it's because I would say, and therefore there's more medals. I can't really, you're probably the better person to answer that question than me.
Very kind of you. Well, one of the most asked questions to all persons, why or who should enter to IWSC? I mean, I know the answer is everyone, sure.
Everyone. Everyone.
I'm not sure if you followed. We had a talk with the guys from the new International Sugarcane Spirit Awards, and they focus very hard on everything sugarcane. Others go more for areas. Who should enter IWSC?
Well, I think I always think entering competitions in general, it's a great opportunity for any different style or different category, which are probably maybe not that well known or consumers don't really understand, because it's the opportunity to really put, a category on the map, and to help to develop that, that brand and the category as well. So, in terms of wine, any emerging market, it's competitions are a great place to actually enter. And for spirits, it's the same. Any smaller categories. I know Toby's been really pushing Pisco, and again, I agree with him. I think Pisco is an amazing opportunity to really, and they should use competition to really promote, their category. But it's also a great opportunity for smaller brands who don't have massive marketing budget, who needs help to get exposure. And because we provide a third endorsement, we provide endorsement to their brand. We basically help them. We get them tested by professional in a very, blind, very professional, rigorous system. So we give them something to help them to promote their brand. So I think any smaller company who really want to promote their brand and don't have massive marketing budget, I think competition is a great start. But also benchmarking. I think competition is a great opportunity to benchmark, to see how you're doing against your competitors, and also how you're doing from one year to the other year as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what I saw from other producers is that they love IWSC for being international, and it's a English language competitions, and the world looks at the scores. So that's commonly the answer I get when I ask why IWSC, because everyone looks at it. You have a second competition. You said Hong Kong International, IWSC. Is that going to be kept separate for the future, or?
We're talking. I can't say too much right now, but we are in discussion to really work closer together. It was, and probably Francis knows more how it started, but I think they were a bit more joint before, a long time ago when they started it. They were run by the UK office, but then for some reasons they kind of departed and went their different way, and became actually two, same name, but actually two different competitions with not a lot in common. Actually, we're now having conversation with them and actually working together, because I think we'll be a much stronger brand working together. So so we definitely want to do more together, and we want to bring those two competitions in line as well. And actually it will give us a wider reach. It will give us more exposure in Asia, without a doubt. So we definitely are in discussion, and hopefully that it will happen quite soon.
Okay, so the gateway to Asia will stay there.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So looking into the future, can you talk a little bit about the future? Or?
I can, no problem. I mean, obviously, it's quite hard at the moment to talk about the future, because every day it's a new venture. But obviously we're closing our office in Dunstable, where we have been doing our judging for quite a few years, a decade or more. So it's goodbye to our home, and obviously we'll need to find a new home for our spirit judging next year, which we'll be starting working in the September-October period. So that's going to be a big move for us. So we will have to look at different options, and so that's going to be quite a big thing for next year to really locate our spirit judging to a new place. I think in terms of the spirit side of it, it's just to continue working with all our core judges and experts, and to make sure we continue offering a very updating the competition if we need to, and to become even more stronger. And we have developed quite a huge editorial content. So we are going to be doing more videos starting from mid-September. So we actually we want to bring our results a bit more alive and a bit more, on. So we're going to be doing quite a lot on social media, but actually more around videos as well, working with our experts. So that's quite exciting. Obviously, this is an experiment, but we're very excited about what we've put in place. And so there's going to be more into editorial content around our results, as in writing more about the people who actually done well at the IWSC, and also writing about their categories as an education. People can learn and will come to us hopefully to learn more about the new trends or the new spirit categories. So we've recruited a new content team. Guy Woodward, who is now leading the team, started with us in March. So we're now putting quite a big plan in place in terms of editorial, and that will be across IWSC, but also our consumer publication, which is Club Onologique.
We already talked about judging next year. It stays how it is, all in one go, or is the intention there to split it up like with the wine side?
I think we just have to talk to. So at the moment, we did a big research, market research, amongst all our customers back in September, I think, and then we realized that when a lot of our customers wanted to get their spirit judge as early as possible, so they could benefit from their wins all year round, basically. So something we quite like to look at is maybe moving the spirit judging earlier. Thanks, Toby. So maybe moving it slightly earlier. So that's one thing, but we need to work closely with all our customers and our experts as well, and find the perfect timing. Whether we do, at the end of the day, the gin don't have to be judged at the same time as whiskey, for example. I mean, we definitely we're talking about judging whiskey, the Scotch whiskey in Scotland, and obviously bringing our judges to Scotland. And as you know, Arthur, we've even to look at taking some categories to your part of the world as well, and why not judging cognac in cognac? And so there's different talk, but at the moment it's sort of been put on hold because of the current situation, with travel and everything else. But all the spirits don't have to be judged all at the same time, I think, as long as we have the right experts for each category, or they could be all judged together but earlier. We just have to, there's something we need to work on to find what is best, in terms of calendar. But for our priority would be to work with all our experts and work with them what is best for them as well. That's the number one priority.
Well, I mean, years before, Francis will remember, the judging of the spirits was commonly in March. So it just been pushed further because of the wines.
Yeah. Actually, I actually had a chat with Francis, I think, a couple of weeks ago about it, because I realized that it used to be earlier. So I was actually asking her how the transition happened. And actually, March would be quite a nice time, or late February, to do it. And it's just, I think producers felt, it's not like wine, you're not vintage dependent. Wine, we have we are limited when we can do it with the vintage, but actually spirit, we're not. And the feedback we receive is a lot of producers would like to receive their awards earlier in the year, so they have the rest of the year to promote it.
Well, Henrik goes away. maybe you will want to drop him a message afterwards, so you can close that discussion about wine and spirits judging.
I hope, Henrik, you'll join us next year, the judging.
I hope to see you soon again as well, Henrik. Well, Christelle, we are up with the questions.
No, it's good. It's been great. So have you done any judging on your side? Because obviously you haven't been able to travel and
No, not yet. I did some tasting here in the office, but not really competition judging this year until now.
Yeah. You miss it?
A lot.
Yeah.
Not only to taste, also the social thing to meet friends and colleagues, and it's quite sad. It's quite sad this year.
Yeah, it is. But hopefully, we just have to be positive, and hopefully 2021 will be kinder on all of us.
Absolutely. So, Christelle, thank you very, very much for joining us and giving us a look and telling us more about the competition. We stay backstage when we end the broadcast. Next week, Thursday, we have the last competition talk, and Christian Wolf from ISW from Germany will join us to present his spirit competition, and that will round off the big four. And thank you very much for watching. Have a nice evening and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.